Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if it please you, join me here for a little palaver on Hail to Stephen King, exclusively seen here on The Horror Show. Gracias once again for joining me and all of the Kingness that we describe and just, take a close look at twice a week here on The Horror Show, usually on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Sometimes we fluctuate days if there's a big release or, something going on. But as you can see by all the books beside me, King is my favorite author. I've read every single one of his stories, both novels and shorts, and I was extremely excited this past week, especially ahead of the release of The Outsider, which is coming out this Tuesday, May 22nd. This is like Super King week for me that I am about to start, because check it, y'all. Not only do we have The Outsider coming on Tuesday, but then on Saturday, May 26th at the Phoenix Comic Fest, as they're calling it now. It was called the Phoenix Comic Con for like a decade at this point, but apparently SDCC is going after peeps now, and so we're seeing some rebranding. But at Phoenix Comic Fest here in Phoenix, Arizona at the Phoenix Convention Center, I'm doing 3 different Stephen King panels about my 3 favorite Stephen King novels. Crazy, right? So on Saturday, I'm doing 2 different panels. So at 3 o'clock, I'm doing a panel about the book you see right there, The Stand. We are celebrating the 40th anniversary of this amazing work by Stephen King, which is one of my 3 favorite novels that he ever put together. I'm currently rereading it, which is why you see it up there. So in the coming months, we're going to be doing some exclusive re-reviews, I guess, of the Stand novel, of the Stand comic books, and of the Stand miniseries, and maybe even some speculation and predictions about the Stand remake that Josh Boone and various other people have been trying to do for the longest time. Last we heard, it was going to be on CBS's All Access network. Who knows if that's still going on, but yes, fingers firmly crossed. So if you're in the Phoenix area on Saturday, once again, 3 o'clock, at the Phoenix Convention Center, I am going to be doing a 40th anniversary panel with a few other members of The Horror Show, all about The Stand. And then later that evening, for the 35th anniversary of Pet Sematary, I am going to also be doing a panel discussing the upcoming remake of that film, the incredible novel, and the very, very solid and dear to my heart original movie that Mary Lambert directed. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the sequel that she also directed, which I did a retro review of recently here for Hail to Stephen King. And then lastly, on Sunday at 12 noon, we are doing an It panel where we are going to be talking about just the resurgence of success from the remake. We're going to be doing some casting, just predictions for the last 2 people, provided they do not get cast in the next week, because we have 5 of the 7 losers for the adult Chapter 2 at this point. But we're also going to be discussing the original miniseries with Tim Curry, who is at Phoenix Comic Con, or Phoenix Comic Fest. I keep just getting it mixed up because I've been saying, Phoenix Comic Con for like 6-7 years at this point. And yes, we're also going to be talking about the amazing novel that we covered so extensively last year. So that and a new novel from Stephen King was everything I've been expecting. And I've been meandering, so I apologize for anybody who's like, come on, Fuego, cut to the chase, bro. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, we were gifted with a surprise short story this past week by Stephen King called Laurie that he just threw on his website. He was like, hey, I wrote something in the last couple of months, and just consider it like a little hors d'oeuvre ahead of, The Outsider coming out on Tuesday, the 22nd. And I just got done reading this, like just before filming this, so it's still incredibly fresh. I'm curious about all of you who have read it, and I'm just going to give, a brief bit of thoughts and the short little review of it. So this is very obviously, once again, King is notorious, and for good reason. He has given tremendous advice to upcoming, aspiring writers about write what you know, man. Hercules, write what you know, write what you know. And, I gotta say, I see so much of King's, I hate to say twilight years, but, at least as far as, his golden years, maybe, if we're gonna reference the TV miniseries. But yeah, King at this point in time in his life, and for many years at this point, has divided his time between Florida and between Maine. And so it's interesting where he's started setting more and more of his stories over the years, not in abundance, but more and more of his stories, including Doomickey, which I did a anniversary review of this past year, which is one of my, it's in my top 10 ever for Stephen King. I adore that book. But, you know, I think he also said the Gingerbread Man there, if I'm not mistaken, or the Gingerbread Girl. Boy, I'm effing it up. It would say it's a great short story from Just After Sunset, or no, it's a, well, from a recent story collection. You guys are going to just hit me hard in the comments because I'm not sure it's Just After Sunset. I know it's one of the recent releases. Maybe it's Bizarre Bad Dreams. Fuego, you're losing all your cred right now. But long story short, King has been setting more and more of his stuff, you know, in this particular state. So it's not all just the cliche of Maine. And this story, Laurie, takes place in Florida. And so you have this man Lloyd, and his wife has passed away within the last 6 months, and his older sister knows he's grieving. She comes to visit him. He's losing weight. He's not looking so good. You know, he's in his late 60s. She's 5 years older, and she has always been kind of like the mother without the mother being there. You know, when they were growing up and stuff, they had the functional drunken father, but he wasn't really as, you know, hands-on in the raising process of of the younger sibling and stuff. And so what does she do? She brings him a puppy. She brings him a puppy, and he's initially averse to the idea. He's like, how Hallmark card cliched can we get here? I don't need a dog, you know. Let me just continue stewing in my grief and lose another 15 pounds or whatever. And, you know, but she's persistent, as older sisters often are. I never had one. I was the oldest of 3 boys, but, you know, nonetheless, I've seen the mentality with various friends of mine. And so, you know, she's very stern and just kind of just lays down the law, even at their respective ages, and, you know, makes sure that he holds on to this dog. She kind of guilt trips him into it a little bit, but, you know, it's an amusing interplay, kind of endearing between the two of them. You know, it's like a tough love kind of caring sort of thing, and he decides at random to name the dog Laurie. And so immediately I think of, I love retweeting King when he posts photos of Molly, the Thing of Evil, as he calls her. I think it's the Thing of Evil, but yeah, Molly is King's dog, and you know, you can tell just how much he loves her by the amusing ways in which he posts photos of her, where she's destroying like toys, sometimes politically related toys, and adults. You know, I'm gonna quote Jesus from South Park, I wouldn't touch that with a 50-foot pole. But nonetheless, you know, just the way that you can just sense the love, and that love of his dog, you know, really comes out in this, as you see, you know, Lloyd's character slowly warming up to, you know, this growing dog, and, you know, starting to, you know, take her out on walks, because it's also a she, just like Molly. And, you know, there is some foreshadowing that happens about a creaky little, just almost like bridge, like, you know, boardwalk kind of area, you know. And being Florida, you know, that there's, you know, sometimes crazy types of wildlife in Florida. I'm not trying to spoil this story for you guys. Maybe I'm just hinting a little bit, but, you know, basically 2/3 of the story is grieving, getting to the acceptance process, and then the renewal of finding just love and fulfillment and satisfaction and happiness in a new sense of routine. And it really comes across very genuinely, very sweetly in this story. And I mean, hell, just reading it made me hungry for, you know, Florida seafood, damn it. You know, it really just got those gears turning. But, you know, as King always gets to with his short stories, there is eventually going to be some horror of the slightest degree. And when it does happen, it's not necessarily what I expected, but it was still very effective and very good. And, you know, once again, they nail home just the growing just depth of the connection between him and an animal that, you know, it's really amusing to me, where he's reading this, you know, like how-to kind of thing online, and it's like, so you've got a new puppy or something to that effect, and, you know, where he's immediately following the rules, and then, you know, later in the story he breaks the rules a little bit. And I still remember when I had a miniature pinscher that I named Luna, and unfortunately I I lost her in the divorce kind of thing that I went through a number of years ago. But, you know, I remember when that dog was so small, and, you know, I'd always had big dogs, you know, and I'm a dog lover. I don't like cats, you know. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, church or whatever. I mean, I think of cats as, you know, they don't have the same essence of loyalty or whatever. You know, I'm going to see a lot of disagreements about this in the comments, I would imagine. But I've always been a dog person. My dad trained canines for the Phoenix Police Department. But so we were used to these huge dogs, you know. And when I am dealing with this tiny little Doberman, you know, that's like this big. And I still remember just the crying at night, the inability to sleep. And at one point, you know, she's crying out one of the first nights that he has her, that he has Laurie, and he goes to his deceased wife's little den, and he takes out Joan Baez's greatest hits, and, you know, puts on some of her music and the soothing aspect and calming her down. It immediately made me think of when myself and the significant other at the time, we had to go to work, and we can't take the dog with us, and, you know, we would put on Explosions in the Sky and, you know, just leave her in her area. And the neighbors over time were like, wow, then I don't know what you did, but the dog's not crying anymore, you know? So music can soothe even the savage beast, if I'm going to quote The Offspring from Ixnay on the Ombre. So once again, without spoiling anything more, I highly recommend this story. It is available for free on StephenKing.com. It makes me wonder if it's going to pop up in some later anthology along with Cookie Jar and some of these others that haven't been collected yet. You know, hopefully we get many more years with Sai King, and, you know, he can put out another collection in a few years as a follow-up to Bizarre Bad Dreams. But, you know, just retaining and turning focus back to The Outsider coming out on Tuesday. Since I'm rereading The Stand and about 300 pages in, and as relentlessly as I can go through King books, you know, 100 or more a day, I'm anticipating being done with this as a reread before Phoenix Comic-Con, because I just got done rereading Pet Sematary already. Since I read it just, you know, just late last year, I'm not doing a reread on that, but it's all still pretty fresh, and I have an extensive amount of notes, but I'm not sure when the Outsider review is going to come. We're live streaming the Pet Sematary panel Saturday night, so you won't be expecting a new Hail to Stephen King then, but yeah, so expect a review of The Outsider, I'm hoping within the next week and a half or so, and at 572 pages I think it's clocking in at, so it's not a super short one, and it's not like a huge, you know, ginormous epic like Sleeping Beauties, which honestly, check out my review of Sleeping Beauties here on the channel in the Stephen King themed playlist. I liked a lot of it, but I can't say I loved it. You know, it was, especially as I reread The Stand and I'm just seeing, oh, all these different characters and the juggling act, and, you know, I still don't think King has ever done it better than with The Stand. But I'm very intrigued at the prospect of the fact that, you know, Ralph, this guy whose DNA is at the scene of the crime, but he has an alibi, and, you know, he is like the pristine, you know, person in the social scheme of this town. You know, he's a teacher, he's a little league coach, he's got 2 beautiful children and all this other stuff, but he is being immediately linked to these grisly, horrible child murders and stuff. I'm curious where King is going to go with this, you know, what sort of twists and turns he's going to give us. The idea alone excites me thoroughly, though. I've got the book on pre-order, and I've got the audiobook, so I'm going to be noshing through this as quickly as possible. I'll probably even between panels and, you know, looking around on, you know, the floor and stuff if I have any free time in between interviewing booths and stuff like that at Comic-Con or Comic whatever the hell. I'm going to just put in the headphones and, you know, just continue trudging through it. So I'm hoping by the end of the month I will have my thoughts on The Outsider, and I look forward to all of your thoughts on The Outsider, the newest novel from Stephen King that is coming this Tuesday, May 22nd. And also, if you haven't checked out Laurie yet, please do, StephenKing.com. And if you have checked it out already, give me your thoughts below. Let me know what you thought of this very, very sweet and, you know, just short, little short story. But I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. And yes, it's very, very cool to see King injecting personal experience, especially in his later years, into this sort of storytelling. So I've been Jaime and Fuego, everybody. Gracias once again for joining. You can find me on all social media sectors: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Please like, share, and subscribe to this video with the hashtag Hail to Stephen King. And if you haven't subscribed to the horror show, please do that. Hit the bell so you get notifications about all of these Hail to Stephen King videos, along with reviews, trailer reactions. We have a lot of convention coverage coming in the next few months with Mad Monster in July and Phoenix Comic Fest here at the end of the month, but we do tons of other things as well. And yes, you can look forward to on Infuegotainment a spoiler-heavy, big, probably hour-long roundtable discussion with myself, Cecil, and some special guests all about Deadpool Dose, which we already did a very brief review of here on the horror show, but that's the new kind of thing that we're doing as Infuegotainment slowly relaunches, is we'll do, at least if it has enough of a horror, kill, gore, or whatever element, you know, we will do something on the horror show that is just brief and just quick, rapid reaction thoughts, and then we'll do something lengthier on my personal channel. So, yes, this is the end of the vid, and I appreciate all of the support, y'all. And yes, make sure to check out all of those panels if you're in the Arizona area. And until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, which will be, yes, that's right, very soon at Memorial Day weekend at Phoenix Comic Fest. Hasta luego, sin amigos, and constant viewers and readers. I hope that it is sooner rather than later. And until we meet once again, remember, stay scared. And read Stephen King. I don't care if it's The Stand, or if it's Doohickey, or, you know, The Outsider on Tuesday. But seriously, check out Laurie. It's free.